An often neglected feature of Xcode is code snippets. Code snippets are quick ways to add code you frequently use. In Xcode 10, there are some major changes to code snippets, which might confuse those who use them now, but will make them easier to use. Let's take a look at this cool feature for everyone. I'm using a beta 4 version of Xcode 10 here, and as I'm using betas, be aware changes from what I'm telling you might happen. Download the starter file, which is a table view controller. You can click on View Controller Swift and get rid of all the other stuff because we're going to stay right in the view controller here so you can see everything. I'm not a big fan of the table view controller template. I usually take a blank view controller and type all this in every time, which is the number of rows section, self a row and index path, did select row, and number of sections. Snippets can save this code in Xcode every time I need the table view controller code, and I can just pop it in. I also have my import UI kit and my signature, which is different than Apple's, that I use often. I'm going to save each of these as a snippet and then use them in a new view controller. I'll save the signature first as a snippet. In Xcode, what I'll do is I'll just highlight this code, right-click, and hit Create Code Snippet. The snippet window opens, and you'll see that it's got a second window over here for me to define this a little better. It always defaults to my code snippet for the title, but I'm going to change the title here to Tips Signature. And then it's going to ask me for a summary after that, and I'm going to say my comment signature for weekly tips. So I can put that in like that. I can also add something called the completion shortcut. And I'm going to make that Tips Signature, which will let me, when I do an autocomplete function in my code, type that in and it'll just show up automatically. Notice I did not camel case this, so it does not look like a keyword. And then below that is an editing window, which shows me exactly what I'm going to be putting into the snippet. And it's actually editable if I need to. I'm going to go ahead and press return to save this snippet. And you'll see over here, I've got a new snippet. I'm going to go click back on my text here. I'm going to go ahead and highlight my import UI kit. I'm going to do the same thing I just did. Create code snippet. And then I'm going to change this one to import UI kit. The summary is pretty simple here. I'm going to do the same thing with completion shortcut. Is I'm just going to do UI kit all in lowercase. So I can use that as my completion shortcut. Now, this is only going to apply to iOS and Swift, so I can change to another two things. The platform tells me which platform this will be applied to, and this will only apply to iOS. So I can change that here. And I can also change it to a language. You can see we've got lots of different languages to play with. I'm just going to go down here to Swift and put it there. So this will only work in Swift. So I can change my ranges of how to do this. And then once I've done that, I'm good to go. And I'm done with this one. And now I've got my import UI kit one done. I'm going to click outside here one more time. And now I'm going to highlight the table view controller. And I'm going to highlight the whole class. So I can pop a whole class in here. Once again, I'm going to create the code snippet. And this one's going to be a title of UI table view controller. The summary is going to be basic template for a table view controller. Again, I'm going to use iOS and Swift for my language. I'll make a completion of table view controller like so. And then I'm going to do one more thing. This table is pretty specific. I've got data already here. I'd like to prompt someone instead of saying just table view controller. I'd like to edit down here to put a name for a table view controller. So if I want to say the second view controller or the ice cream view controller. Now I can do just like you do in Xcode, have those little place marker completion things, and you can put one into your snippets as well. And if you do a left angle bracket hash, and then type a word in there, and I'm going to do table name. then do another hash mark, and then do a right angle bracket or shift period, and pop like that, you've got yourself a place marker. I'm going to do that again over here for data, and I'm just going to do it right over this data point here. So I'm going to do it just like this. And I got a couple of these. Hash mark, shift period, or right angle bracket. And I should have one down in here, right there. And I think that's all I did. I didn't do anything to select yet. Okay, so that's all done. And I can go ahead and just click over here and close that up. And you see I've got now a basic template, which I spelled wrong. So I'm going to click on this again and edit in here, like so. And now I've got it all set. And you'll see I've got the 3 user ones on top here. And you can search your snippets any way you want up on top here. All right, I'm going to click outside here. I'm going to go to File, New, File. I can use either a Swift file or a Cocoa Touch class for this. I'm just going to use a Swift file for this. I'm going to go hit Next. I'm going to change this to second view controller, like so. And I'm going to save it in my group CodeSnippets. That's great. Go ahead and create. And that gets me a second view controller. I'm going to take all that code and just delete it. All right, and now I've got a blank page. I'm going to show you what we can do with a blank page. I'm going to bring up the snippets, and the first thing I can do is for the tip signature. I can select the tip signature, drag it up here, let it go, and there's my tips. I'm going to go down here to line 9, 10, make it extra space, do the same thing. And I can double click on the import UI kit is another way of doing this. But the interesting one to follow is this one, is I can do UIKIT, return, and bang, just like that, I've got my import UI kit. I'll make 2 more spaces, and now I'll start typing table view controller. And you'll notice up in the auto completion, you've got a UI table view controller right here. It doesn't have anything next to it for the class, so that's the one you want. I can just click that, and then I get my table view controller. You'll notice it's giving you lots of errors because of all the place markers. I can click on a place marker here, change it to second. For my class, I'm going to call this data, which I can actually do very quickly by just double clicking on it. And I have a view controller. That was all it took. Snippets stay in Xcode, not in your project. So I can go ahead and close all this up, use a different project, and those snippets will be back in every project I have. So snippets can be used for bigger code pieces like this or smaller ones. There's many that Apple actually made for you, as you can go through all this list here, for convenience that you might want to scroll through as well. Snippets will definitely speed up your codings in ways you may not imagine.